Hi everyone, we're going to talk about literacy. And in literacy today we're going to talk about books and something called making connections. So here's my question. Do you think about stuff when you read? If you think about stuff when you read, put your thumb up. Nice, I see some people have their thumbs up. I see some people thinking. I have another question. Do you think about something that happened to you when you're reading, or maybe someone you know, or maybe you think about another book, or maybe it makes you think about something that happened to your parents or your family? If that's true, also put your thumb up. I see some people have their thumbs up. Nice. Well, today we're going to talk about making connections between what we're reading and ourselves. The movie we saw last week, who remembers that movie? You remember that movie? You remember that movie too? That movie we saw about the little girl and the dog, did that make anyone think about another movie that they saw recently or they have seen before about a little girl and a dog, or maybe some kids and their pets? Me too. That's right. So today in literacy, what good readers do in literacy? When they're reading, they're doing more than just reading the words on the page and the story. They're thinking about other stuff too. So I said we're going to make connections. And when I say make connections, that means we're going to take two things and we're going to kind of connect and bridge them. So our mission today is to take a story, a text, and make that a connection to ourselves. It's going to be called a text-to-self connection. A text-to-self connection. And it's going to be where we're going to read and we're going to think about a time where that reminds me of something, or something that happened to me was very similar. So a connection between your life experience and a book. Who's read this before? Rememberly Worried by Kevin Higgins. That's a really good book. Now looking at this book, if anyone's read this, don't say anything, but can somebody here predict what this book's going to be about based on what this cover? Look at the picture, look at the colors. Who can make a guess? Who can make a prediction? Yes, Marie, can you make a prediction? Do you predict it's going to be about a mouse and his family, maybe? Okay. Anyone else? Yes. Frank, yes. What do you think? You think it's going to be about maybe kids who are playing on a playground? Okay. Now, looking at this, who can make another guess that maybe it's fiction or non-fiction? Who remembers those words? Oh, no one's sure yet. Okay, that's all right. We're going to keep going.
This is Wimberly, and Wimberly's story is called Wimberly Worried, adapted from the book written and illustrated by Kevin Hicks. Wimberly was a very small mouse. She was a very big worrier. She worried about big things like, will this tree fall on my house? She worried about little things like, will these ants take away all my food? She worried in the morning, she worried at night, and she worried all the day in between. This is Petal. When Wimberly worried, she liked to rub Petal's ears to make herself feel better. And then she would worry that maybe if she worried too much, she'd rub Petal's ears right off. Wimberly's mother said, I wish you wouldn't worry so much. And her father said, when you worry, I worry. But that didn't stop Wimberly from worrying. She worried anyway. Soon, Wimberly had a new something to worry about. School. She had so many questions and so many worries. Like, what if no one else has spots? What if no one else brings a doll? What if the teacher is mean? What if the room smells bad?
Now, this part right here, where she's worried about school, that makes me think of something. That reminds me of when I was going to meet somebody for the first time that I've never met before, and I was going over their house for dinner, and I was worried too. I was worried, were they going to like me? Let's keep reading.
What if they make fun of my name? What if I can't find the bathroom? What if I hate the snack? What if I have to cry? Her mother said, I wish you wouldn't worry so much. And her father said, when you worry, I worry. And that sure didn't stop Wimberly from worrying about school. She worried all the way there. While Wimberly's parents were talking to her teacher, Mrs. Beecham, Wimberly took a good look around the room. Finally, Mrs. Beecham said, Wimberly, I think there's somebody you ought to meet. Across the room, there was another little girl standing by herself and holding a doll. Her name was Jewel. At first, Wimberly and Jewel just peeked at each other. And then Wimberly said, this is Petal. This is Niblet, said Jewel. Petal waved at Niblet, and Niblet waved back.
That right there, when they became friends and they met at school with Jewel and Wimberly, that reminds me of when I was nervous about the first day of school in first grade, and I wasn't sure about the other kids there, and I wasn't sure if they would like me or want to play with the things that I played with. But just like Wimberly did, I made a friend too, the very first day of school. And we both had toys, and we showed each other what the toys were. I just made another connection. And part of why I made that connection is because I use something called schema. Who here knows that word schema? I've heard that word schema before. Put your thumb up if you've heard it before, or you know what it is. So some people have their thumbs up. Schema is the thoughts in your brain. It's the stuff we already know. It's the stuff that helps us understand new stuff that we're learning. So when we're reading and when we're listening, we're using our schema in our minds.
Petal said hi, and Niblet said hi right back. After that, Wimberly and Jewel were fast friends. They spent the whole morning playing with each other and sitting and listening to the teacher. Wimberly worried, but no more than usual, and sometimes even a little less. At the end of the morning, the teacher lined everybody up to go, and she said, remember to come back tomorrow. Wimberly turned and smiled and waved and said, I will, don't worry. And that's how Wimberly learned to worry a little bit less.
Okay. Who liked that story? Put your thumb up if you like that story. Ooh, I see a lot of people with their thumbs up. So we made text-to-self connections while we were listening to that story. And we used our schema. Who remembers what schema is? John? It's the thoughts in our head, that's right. When we read, we use what we already know to help us understand. We all have schema. Who can give me an example of one of the connections that I made? Yes. Sophia, you think when I was worried about my dog, did anybody here make a connection when they were listening to the story that it made them think of something? Charles? Oh, it reminded you when you were worried that your baby sister was okay because she was sick. Okay. Nice. Now that we heard that story, we're going to do something. Everyone's going to have a response sheet. Now this sheet is going to be where you're going to get your materials, and first you're going to put your name. I need to know who you are. And it's called Making Connections. So we made a connection today, and it was called a text to, who remembers that word? A text to, yes, Caroline. Text to self, that's right, text to self connection. So we're going to write text to self here. Now I have a box here, and I have some lines for you to write. In the box, you're going to draw a connection. You're going to draw a picture of something that the book that you heard reminded you of something. It made you think of something about yourself. Some of your thoughts. If you draw your picture, you're going to finish the sentence. And the sentence says, "This book reminds me of." And here's where you're going to try your best. And you can write as many words as you can. You can fill all the lines if you want. This book reminds me of when I was worried about my dog. This book reminds me of when I was worried about my baby sister who was sick. And if you need help with writing, that's fine. We can raise your hand. I can come over to you. Can you talk to a friend? Yes, you can talk to a friend and ask them how to spell things. That's right. That's okay too. Here's an example of a text-to-self connection drawing. So here I have name, and here I drew, well, somebody drew this. And this is where I'm drawing a connection between this from the book and this me and my friend. This book reminds me of when I play with my friends. And I'm going to give out also a rubric, just so you know, when you're done with your response sheet, here's what I'm looking for. I wrote my name. I have one or more sentences. I drew a picture of my connection. I wrote the title of the book, and I used neat handwriting. So the title of the book, I want you to write that on the response sheet. There's a little part called book title. I wrote book title, and you're going to write the name of the book, Wemberly Worried, on there. And I'm going to put it up on the PowerPoint so that you can copy it. So we're going to go back to our tables. First, we're going to go back to our tables. I'm going to give you the sheets. You're going to go to the Art Center, get all your materials, and then you're going to begin. Anyone have any questions? Pamela? Yes. When we're done, what are we going to do with our sheets? I'm going to collect all your sheets. Yes. So raise your hand if you have any questions and need help with spelling or writing. Great, let's get started.